Tonight on NewsWatch, chaos in the nation's capital. CBN News is in D.C. with more details on the deadly shooting at the Washington Navy Yard.
Plus, to look at how some in Israel are stepping up and helping those injured in the Syrian civil war.
And extremism after 9/11. A look at where the world stands 12 years after the terrorist attack. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. It was a deadly day in Washington, D.C. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Police confirm at least 12 people died in a shooting at the Washington Navy Yard. Paul Strand has been following the story all day from D.C. and joins us now with more. Paul?
Yes, there's so much that's uncertain about what happened here in D.C. today, but we do know this. At 8:20 a.m., numerous shots began to ring through the Naval Sea Systems Command Headquarters building at the Washington Navy Yard along the Potomac River. We're not sure how many gunmen, but we do know that one is dead, and his name is Aaron Alexis, a 34-year-old from Texas who may have snuck into the building with somebody else's ID. And no matter how many gunmen there were, we do know this, their actions sent ripples of panic through the nation's capital. Chaos reigned just a half mile from Capitol Hill as a gunman opened fire in a crowded building at the Navy Yard.
And immediately there was an announcement that there was a fire emergency in the building, but our fire wardens came running very quickly, yelling for everyone to get out of the building now, and that's when we started moving.
As we were exiting the back door, we noticed him down the hall. He stepped around the corner, we heard shots, and as he came around the corner, he aimed his gun at us, and he fired at least 2 or 3 shots.
The gunman's toll was horrendous, as related by the mayor of Washington, D.C.
At this hour, it appears that we have at least 12 fatalities, and we're continuing to try to ascertain how serious this situation is. And it doesn't get much more serious than that, obviously.
And late in the afternoon, authorities were still trying to determine if this was the case of a single gunman or several.
Right now, we have multiple pieces of information that would suggest that we have at least 2 other individuals that were seen with firearms. We know both of those individuals were wearing military-style uniforms.
The scene was filled for blocks around with hundreds of police cars, fire engines, and emergency vehicles.
I noticed a lot of intersections were shut down, and people were putting their sirens on, and all different types of vehicles, big black SUVs, little white DC government cars, everything in between.
President Obama had impromptu remarks even as the situation was unfolding.
These are men and women who were going to work, doing their job, protecting all of us. They're patriots, and they know the dangers of serving abroad, but today they face the unimaginable violence that they wouldn't have expected here at home.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Our terrorism analyst Eric Stakelbeck has been monitoring the situation from Washington, and he joins us now with more. Eric, the first question on many people's minds is this situation an act of terror? Are there any indications so far?
Well, Mark, right now we don't know if there were any political or religious motivations behind the shooter or shooters, and that's an interesting thing here, Mark. We don't know how many gunmen there were so far. There was at least one, obviously. There may be as many as 3. Just so many questions right now, Mark. But look, when you're talking about political or perhaps religious motivations, look at the target, the Navy Yard, a symbol of the U.S. Navy, the U.S. military. A lot of people have gripes against the U.S. military, whether it's Islamic terrorists or other political extremists. The military is often a target. So could it have been a lone crazed gunman? Yes, but the fact that they're saying there may be 2 other people here, Mark, and again, too early to tell if even that's true, but if this is part of a larger conspiracy, there may very well have been a political or a religious motive, and when that is factored in, then it becomes an act of terrorism for sure.
Well, even if it is not terrorism related, mass acts of violence echo back to things like the Boston bombing, the Fort Hood shootings. Do Americans live under a constant threat, Eric?
I think this is the new normal, Mark, and I hate to say that. I mean, but look, we've had mass shooting after mass shooting, whether it's a deranged gunman like we saw in Newtown killing school children, or whether it's an Islamic terror attack like Boston, like Fort Hood. Yes, this is the new normal for America. It's a sad day for America, Mark, when this isn't. I can't say that this was entirely shocking. It's horrific, shocking in a sense, but in another sense, we see this all too often, these mass shootings. It's a part of it's a part of Americans' daily lives now, it seems, and it's a sad day. And yes, we do have to get used to this, especially at installations like military installations, schools, etc. To a madman or a terrorist, these are high-value targets and often soft targets. You know, whoever this was, this shooter or shooters, they didn't go to the Pentagon, which you would think, Mark, is much more highly secured. The Navy Yard is probably a bit softer target, a little easier to infiltrate. So I think that's telling as well.
Okay, Eric Stakelbeck, our terrorism analyst. Thank you very much, Eric, for your time and for staying on top of this.
Thank you, Mark.
Major rescues are underway around Boulder, Colorado. More than 1,000 people are missing and at least 7 people are reported dead. Operation Blessing is on the ground there, working with local churches to help victims. Ephraim Graham has the story.
Agreement had said that there will be the use of force.
A clear weather forecast today in Boulder County, Colorado, but floodwaters stretch across 15 counties, displacing more than 11,000 people.
The question I had is how can we ever recover from this? And I know exactly, inch by inch, mile by mile, community by community, they're taking this stuff back.
Cleanup is now underway, but local authorities warn it could take months to repair damaged or totally destroyed roads, highways, and bridges. Operation Blessing teams arrived in Boulder this weekend. They partner with Boulder Valley Christian Church to help victims.
There's homes that are completely destroyed, and there's tons of homes that look fine, but the sewers have backed up, and so you just have streets full of people with flooded basements, and there are thousands of families who've been hit by mudslides, by floodwater coming in, and by sewage coming up into their basements.
Boulder's city sewer system is so overrun with water it can't keep up. Colson's church was able to donate hoses and pumps to some residents to keep the sewage water from filling their basements.
It's just a good reminder that our church family is able to come around people when they need, and I know there's a lot of people in the church who've had flooding also, and to see them stepping out and offering help when their own homes are flooding is, I think, just a really good picture of what Jesus would want us to do for our neighbors.
Operation Blessing purchased cleaning supplies for the Boulder Valley Christian Church so teams could continue to go out and help members of the congregation. OB is partnering with other churches across the flooded region, including LifeBridge Church in Longmont.
This church is just full of activity. This weekend it's had its normal 5 services, but in addition they've opened up their doors and they're reaching out to their communities, their neighbors who are going through such devastating times.
Operation Blessing provided the church with a $10,000 cash grant to help them continue to house evacuees and get the emergency and relief supplies they need to help other victims. Meanwhile, in other parts of Boulder County, more rescue efforts are underway. Many flooded areas have been unreachable because of the weather. Today, the National Guard is encouraging stranded residents to use white sheets, flares, or other reflective items to signal to pilots. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
It's hard to believe. Well, you can find out more about what Operation Blessing is doing there and what you can do to help in its relief efforts by visiting our website. That's cbnnews.com.
A new report from the United Nations says there is clear and convincing evidence chemical weapons were used in Syria. The highly anticipated report doesn't say, however, which side is responsible for last month's attack. The UN report comes after the U.S. struck a deal with Russia to dismantle Syria's chemical weapons. Several Republican senators are criticizing the move. On NBC's Meet the Press, Senator John McCain called the agreement meaningless, saying it goes soft on Syria's President Assad, despite tough talk from President Obama.
But the point is, if the agreement had said that there will be the use of force automatically, or the Russians had agreed that they could go under Chapter 7 to the United Nations Security Council, that puts an entirely different cast on it. Right now, it's up to the Russians to decide that. And by the way, they didn't even assign blame for this attack.
Meanwhile, the White House says possible military strikes against Syria have not been ruled out. Syria's 2-year civil war has killed more than 110,000 people and forced as many as 2 million to flee the country.
Yeah, a small number of those badly wounded are seeking help in Israel. Chris Mitchell brings us that story.
This young Syrian man came to an Israeli hospital after a blast caused massive head wounds. He's one of about 150 who have mysteriously crossed the Syrian border into enemy territory for life-saving medical treatment.
Love your enemies. We have a tragedy in Syria, and hundreds and thousands of people, they have no houses, they are injured, they suffer from cold, from pain, and who take care for them?
Dr. Masad Barhoum, a Christian Arab, leads the Western Galilee Hospital in Nahariya near the Lebanese border. They've taken in about 70 Syrians.
I still remember the first one who came to our hospital, major injury in his head from blast trauma, and after 10 days, he was walking.
The 54-mile border between Israel and Syria stretches from Mount Hermon through the Golan Heights. How did the wounded cross? Only the Israeli army knows, and they're not telling. The hospital simply receives a call from the army that they're bringing wounded Syrians.
It's typical war injuries, including shrapnel wounds, including bullets, including blast injuries.
Current Syrian patients were afraid to go on camera. Most are men, but 8 children have been treated, including this 3-year-old girl who came alone and unconscious with severe burns to her face.
And she woke up, and she had nobody around. So she was just crying because she was afraid and alone.
Doctors say the Syrians probably would have died without the Israeli care, and that trauma goes beyond their physical wounds.
They are so afraid, so troubled from waking up in an enemy place, in a place they don't know the language.
About half the hospital staff speaks Arabic, and Barhoum says that and the love they're shown helps the Syrians calm down.
Just to come, say, be calm, I love you, I'm going to help you. And they have a small smile. They make me my day.
And when a patient is well enough, the Israeli army takes him back to the border. Even though the number is small, Barhoum says he and his staff are grateful for the opportunity to help the suffering Syrians. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Nahariya, Israel.
Beautiful story. Thanks, Chris. Well, coming up, why some say a push to close abortion clinics across the country is working.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you going to do? You're going to drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG. In theaters October 4th.
If you're living with diabetes and have Medicare or private insurance, here is some great news. Call United States Medical Supply today, and we'll send you the smallest glucose meter in the world, absolutely free.
It only takes a speck of blood, and it gives me my results in 5 seconds.
And there's no coding for easier, more accurate results.
Don't let diabetes get in the way of living. Give us a call today at United States Medical Supply and get the smallest meter in the world for free.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you going to do? You're going to drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG. In theaters October 4th.
If you're living with diabetes and have Medicare or private insurance, here is some great news. Call United States Medical Supply today, and we'll send you the smallest glucose meter in the world, absolutely free.
It only takes a speck of blood, and it gives me my results in 5 seconds.
And there's no coding for easier, more accurate results.
Don't let diabetes get in the way of living. Give us a call today at United States Medical Supply and get the smallest meter in the world for free.
Welcome back. The American Center for Law and Justice is kicking off a new effort seeking the freedom of an American pastor imprisoned in Iran. The ACLJ says its letter-writing campaign for Pastor Saeed Abedini is the largest online push in the group's history. The ACLJ wants you to write a letter to Iran's President Hassan Rouhani requesting he let Pastor Saeed go. The group plans to send 1,000 letters every week until the pastor is free. And for more on how you can get involved, make sure you visit our website, cbnnews.com.
Abortion centers are closing their doors at a record rate in America. Baptist Press reports 44 closings so far this year, and some of the shutdowns have been of major clinics. In Virginia, a leading abortion provider closed after being unable to meet new state regulations. New laws are among the reasons cited for the upswing in closings, along with a growth in pro-life activity and a decline in abortions. Last year, 25 clinics shut down. In 2011, it was 30.
The new president of the Southern Baptist Convention's public policy organization says the Bible Belt is collapsing. Reverend Russell Moore says Bible-believing Christians will increasingly be forced to choose whether they will follow God or the nation's leaders. And he says, quote, "We are not Americans first. We belong to another kingdom, and we will stand and speak for that kingdom." Moore is the head of the SBC's Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission.
And up next, CBN News takes a look at the threats of radical Islam around the world. Stay with us.
From CBN.
Broken Eardrum is playing at the Civic tonight.
And you'll just have to miss it.
This is so incredibly unfair.
A special story of love and sacrifice.
Joy, Mom comes up with something.
Christopher Quantum, you and I are going to discuss your attitude right this minute. Superbook.
No.
Join the Superbook DVD Club and get Superbook's newest episode, He is Risen. Plus 2 copies to share with others. All for your gift of $25.
They have arrested Jesus, the Messiah. Do you not know that I have the power to crucify you?
No! Please! You can't! They've taken him to Golgotha. We must hurry. Mary is about to lose her son. The worst thing any mother could face. I am not leaving her.
Superbook. It's an amazing way to build a strong spiritual foundation in the children you love.
Mary, who are you looking for?
I've seen him! He is alive!
Superbook. He is Risen. Available now.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the Spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
America paused to remember the 12th anniversary of 9/11 last week.
But after all these years and the threats from terrorist leaders, it seems political leaders around the world still won't face the threat of radical Islam.
Dale Hurd explains in tonight's Focus Report.
A few years ago, CBN News filmed Denmark's Muslim community marching through the streets of Copenhagen under a banner that reads, "Islam is peace and love." It would be great if it were true, except that a few weeks ago, one of Denmark's most influential leaders dropped a bombshell when he admitted that every mosque in the country is controlled by a radical imam. Even before George W. Bush would walk into a D.C. mosque in the days after 9/11 and say that the attack on the World Trade Center was not the true face of Islam, critics have accused Western leaders of being more concerned with appearing open-minded and tolerant rather than confronting the threat of radical Islam. Because while the vast majority of the world's Muslims are not terrorists, the vast majority of the world's terrorists are Muslims. The U.S. has foiled more than 60 terrorist plots since 9/11. Britain uncovers at least one major terrorist attack every year. But there are other forms of violence from Muslim culture authorities aren't facing. Britain is still reeling from a scandal in which police covered up a Muslim rape gang epidemic for years, one in which primarily Pakistani men made white English girls their sex slaves. For years, British authorities tried to pretend that Muslim sex grooming gangs didn't exist, and so the problem grew, and more young women had their lives ruined. Muslim immigrant gangs in Britain are still so dangerous that when we try to interview rape gang victims, no one would go on camera. And even these friends of the victims insisted that their identities could not be shown.
There's areas now where young girls just can't walk down their own street. People are too scared to come out and say what's going on.
And the real scandal is that this has been going on for 20 years. And there's no policeman who's ever resigned over this.
George Igler is director of the Discourse Institute in Britain.
For 20 years, they just did not investigate. And the reason why they didn't investigate was just the inability to speak freely. The fact that something was taboo meant you couldn't talk about it.
When British soldier Lee Rigby was beheaded in the streets of London by a Nigerian Muslim, one of British Prime Minister David Cameron's first orders of business was to appear open-minded and tolerant.
He didn't look into the camera and say, "I am tripling base security immediately, we will find those who are responsible." He said, "This has got nothing to do with Islam." So all these people realized in an instant they were being lied to.
Cameron had to be corrected by an Islamic terrorist group that said, yes, the Rigby murder was because of Islam. Another issue politicians don't want to discuss is rape. Some are now calling Sweden the rape capital of the world. And in one study of a 5-year period, 4 out of 5 rapes were committed by Muslim immigrants. Norway has had its own rape epidemic against blonde Norwegian women by immigrant men. Some blondes have dyed their hair black or travel only in groups. Some wear Muslim hijabs or headscarves as protection against rape. Kristen Spitznogel is a therapist who has treated some of the victims.
For them, I think the hijab is a symbolic marker which separates the submissive, proper Muslim women from what they see as the Norwegian horse. But when I say horse, I'm really just referring to their own words. This is what they told the journalists.
Muslims and the European left continue their strange political partnership, while they're polar opposites when it comes to women's rights, abortion, and homosexuality. Muslims vote for the left, while the left grows its constituency by encouraging Muslim immigration and the spread of Islamic values.
Third world immigrants to Denmark, something like 95% vote for the left. If they can open the floodgates for third world immigration, they can more or less secure and import their own voters.
America, too, has been knowingly trying to advance the cause of Muslim radicals in Syria and Egypt. President Obama and Republican Senator John McCain have been pushing Congress to allow the U.S. to help the Syrian rebel movement, which includes al-Qaeda terrorists. And the president supported the ousted Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, against the will of the majority of Egyptians. It's what's been happening in virtually every Western nation since 9/11. Politicians not just pretending radical Islam is not the enemy, but actually helping it spread. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Up next, the extreme measures one man went to teach his daughter about modesty. CBNNews.com. News you want, when you want, 24/7. Stay current with up-to-the-minute stories.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News, New York.
I don't have to wait for my news anymore. CBNNews.com at your fingertips all day long.
I only watch the stories I want to see.
I find the story, I click on it, and boom, I'm there.
Embassy in Washington, Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News.
The source for your news, CBNNews.com.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Well, sometimes it takes a little creativity to get a message across to your teenager.
Yeah, one Utah father recently proved that while teaching his daughter about modesty. Scott McIntosh realized his lessons weren't getting through. 19-year-old Miley even refused to wear longer shorts to a weekly family night. And that's when the father of 7 decided to let his actions do the talking by dressing to match.
I know it sounds weird to try to embarrass her, and I wanted her to know that she's of great worth. Modest is hottest.
What this father did was an excellent way to get this message across.
I mean, they don't want to see this 52-year-old fat guy walking around in short shorts.
Good for him. Images of Scott in his shorts, however, went viral within a day. Miley says her dad got his point across.
I would have loved to have had her reaction. Well, I don't think he was a fat guy, but I still don't think you want to see a grown man in short shorts,
No, but you do want to see girls be modest.
Yes, indeed. Amen to that. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of NewsWatch.
Thanks for watching. Have a good night.